Hello everyone, my name is Joe and this is my Craftsmaster dice shooting journey. Let's make it yours too. Going a little bit early today. Gonna have a big weekend coming up, so let's get our dice training session, our dice training with Joe in the morning. Let's get it started. So we're gonna assume again that you've done your warm-ups already. You can find the warm-ups in the white belt and the yellow belt levels. And we're going to start off with our training today with the dice grips. So we're just going to get into our grip. And we're going to go, today we're going to go 5 to 10 times. And keep in mind that, again, a lot of this stuff is repetitious. A lot of this stuff is a day in, day out type situation. So make sure that you get this training in. If you guys are watching this video, if you're following along in the live stream, make sure that you get your dice out and start practicing and following along. So I use the 3-finger front diagonal grip, also called the Uri grip. You can use the 3-finger or the par grip if you want. You can use the 2-finger, either with the index finger, middle finger, or ring finger and thumb. Some people use 2 fingers on the front, 1 on the back. Whatever's comfortable for you guys is what you want to use. Good morning, Nemo. So anyhow, got your dice grips here. And biggest thing when we're doing this is make sure you're looking for consistency. Make sure that you're looking for the same setup on every time that you grip the dice. And if it's not the same, if it does not feel comfortable, make sure you put it down. Make sure you start over and get it so that it is consistent. Again, when I'm doing this, I use my index finger and my pinky to hold the dice in tight. And then I place my thumb on the back and I rotate the dice forward. So that way when I do that, I can actually put my middle finger on the front edge of the dice. And then I put my index and my ring finger. And then I use my pinky again to push it in tight. So that's how I get into my dice script. Again, you're going to have to pick the one that works best for you. And you're going to have to do the one that is the most comfortable for you. We're going to go through 5 drop tests. So we're just going to come in. Let me get a couple sets of dice in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so we're going to get in our grip, get set to throw. We're going to come up and just drop it right here. And we're going to try to make that all a fluid motion. So instead of throwing the dice down the table, we're going to come up and just drop it by releasing that thumb. And you're going to try to bring your hand up to the level that it is where you usually throw the dice. Now when I was a little delayed, that release. So let's work on that. Maybe I'll do a couple extra ones here, guys and gals. So this will be the last session, just so everybody knows, for the week. And this is the orange belt level. We're almost halfway through. Remember that the orange belt is at least 10 sessions long. Now, although I won't be doing any live streaming over the weekend, over the next few days, I still expect everybody to go out and keep on practicing daily. Make sure that you get your repetitions in and that you make this a daily habit. I will be going through and doing all of my training on the side. I'm going to be actually leaving town for the weekend, so I'm going to bring a set of dice along with me, and I'm going to do the training actually in the hotel room where I'm going to be staying, and I'll be actually throwing it up against the bed and using that as my target practice. I can visualize in my mind what the table looks like, the distance, the height and all that stuff. So it's basically the manipulating or the handling of the dice that I'm going to be working on. We're going to go through our dice sets. So we're going to set our dice, the two different dice sets that we're working on right now, which is the 1, 2, 2, 3 and the 5, 4, 2, 3. So we're going to start with the 1, 2, 2, 3 dice set. And remember, guys, I have videos out on all the different dice sets, all the common dice sets out. And look up the dice sets, the 1, 2, 2, 3 video and the 5, 4, 2, 3 videos. And it'll go through and talk to you about and show you where the different numbers come from, where the sevens come from, how many hard ways can you make with this dice set. How the crap numbers show up, all those different types of things. And they're good videos to help review the information that'll help you become a better shooter in the future. You want to use that information so that way you can choose your dice sets wisely. And we'll get into the dice sets at a later time, different dice sets as we go through the program, through the different levels. Okay, so that was the 1, 2, 2, 3. Now we're going to go through the 5, 4, 2, 3, which is the all 7 set. And again, we're working on finger dexterity. We're working on speed of setting. We're working on making. We do not have to think about it as much when we're in the casino. When I'm doing my dice setting, I'm always running through 2, 3. That's running through my mind. So that way I can get into it a little bit smoother. And okay, and then I'm watching the dice as the stick man passes them to me. So that way, if I could see immediately. So, like I said, we're doing the 5, 4, 2, 3, and I've identified that, or I've seen that as the dice are being passed towards me. So, again, just to review parts of the level up program, kind of review of the white and yellow. Let's go to George's corner and see what George has to tell us today, or talk to us about today. So George is moving on now in his documents to the toss. So that's the actual throwing of the dice. And he says, would you agree, or he asks a question. He goes, would you agree that if you didn't exert forward momentum and just kept the dice in your hand, they wouldn't move? It's a simple argument. Dice, while they move in your hand, out of your hand, during their flight, during their landing, and during their collision with the back wall, as well as after, you're responsible for exerting the energy to send them down to their first landing on the felt. Everything after that is a variable, but what we can do is try to keep the rest as a constant. The toss is one of the things that should be kept constant. So what he's saying, till the time it goes down to the table and touches the felt the first time, that's what we could train for. That's the constant work variable. And hopefully, as we go through our training, we're going to be able to regulate those variables to some degree. But we'll work more on that as we, again, level up in the system. So moving on with our dice training here, we're going to go through and we're going to use the barrel dice to start off with again, just to get our toss warming up, comfortable for the day. Start with the barrel dice in your grip. You're just going to toss it down a table, and we're going to try to make sure we get it down to the end of the table so they're not. And we're going to go through 5 to 10 of these again today. Again, when we're doing this initial throwing, we're not so much worried about the landing zone. We're not worried about the height yet. We will be in a little bit. But what we're doing is we're trying to get them down to the other end of the table. Again, like I said, without the wobble. But we're going to try to get them down in a straight line. So we're going to try to keep them flying so and where we want them to land. What I do is I will draw a straight line visually down the table, and that one actually worked really good. And I pick a bump on the bottom row of the alligator wall. And that's what I try to throw the dice to. So you set up in your grip, throw them down, and that one was a tiny bit long, but it landed tight up against the wall here, guys. There's about a half an inch between the dice and the wall. And that one was not that good because it went off to the left. It veered off to the left. The dice did stay level, though. They did not have a wobble when they went down. That one was pretty decent. So after we get our 5 to 10 with the barrel dice, we're going to go over to the regular dice. And we're going to set the 5-4-5-4 hardway set, which is our base set. Again, you're going to get into your dice grip. If it doesn't feel comfortable, if it's not right, set it back down and do it over again. We're going to set up our feet now to make sure that your right foot is back and your left foot is front. And this is, again, assuming that you're throwing from the stick left position. And we're going to go through. Morning, CRC. Not sure if Nemo's here. He jumped in early, and I think he left right away. But if he is, good morning, Nemo, as well. So for those of you just starting to join again, remember this is the last session for this week that will be live streamed. We'll continue the live streams next week again. I am going early today because I have a big weekend plan going out of town tomorrow. So that's why I'm a little bit early so I can get my sleep in before I have to go about my weekend duties. Again, for those of you who don't know, I do work third shift. So that's why I do my morning sessions here. And as soon as I'm done with my live stream, I actually go to bed. That was a terrible toss right there. The dice veered off to the right and they split apart a little bit towards the end. The goal with doing the regular dice here is trying to keep them together tight as possible, at least. Try to get them to spin at the same speed or same revolutions. And we're trying to get them to go down to table straight. Again, we're not really worried about landing zone right now. That we will be working on in the future belt level. I believe it's the next belt level that we're going to be working on that. So this will be our last one with the free dice, with the regular dice, without the height tool. And I know I have a goal of like 5 to 10 of these as a warm-up. But what you want to do is keep on going until you start seeing a pattern. You start feeling comfortable. It starts feeling like they're flowing out of your fingers. And if they feel like they're sticking, if they feel like it's not flowing smoothly, keep on going until you get that down. Because again, what we're doing here is we're trying to make everything constant. We're trying to get that muscle memory kicking in. And if you look at all my tosses there, they're starting to become very consistent as far as going straight down a table. And you look and one of them landed right up against the wall here. The other one came off a little bit off the back wall. That's a perfect situation, guys. You don't want them rolling around. You don't want them flying around the table so that way they're hitting all those chips, all those landmines at the opposite end. And hopefully you can keep more of a controlled pattern over the dice. In other words, the landing will be a little bit more of a controlled situation. Again, that one's both of them stayed right at the end. Perfect landing zone. So now that we have our tosses in there, let's pull the height tool in. Again, for those of you who might be joining along here, guys, make sure that you measure that halfway point plus an extra 3 inches from that back wall. And that's why I have a piece of tape here, so I can just pull this tool right in and I know exactly where the center of the tool should be, because that is the exact measurement. And go back into my, watch out for deer, thanks TRC. I'm actually going down to Iowa for the weekend, to the Dubuque area. So I will be going across some big deer country. Kind of funny that you bring that up. But anyhow, we've got the height tool again. Again, one of the common things, one question was, is the height of the string. Is it too high for throwing the dice at the table? And the answer would be, in my opinion, no, because the dice, or the string here on my table is set up so it's 4 feet 8 inches from the ground, or it's 56 inches from the ground. So that is well below eye level. So you should not get any problems with throwing the dice at this level. But anyhow, let's get the barrel dice here. Let's get in our dice grip. Again, we're going to try to throw down the table. We're going to try to get it so it goes down square, level, without a wobble. And it's going to come up and go up against the back wall here. The reason we have the string here is we want to try to get the dice as close as we can to that string. And in theory, what will happen is that is the apex, the optimal level that we want the dice to be in order to minimize the amount of energy stored in the dice when they come to land on the table. Again, I have a slightly bouncy table, semi-bouncy table. You can see that as I'm throwing the barrel dice right here. So I mean that, I'm not really throwing it down that hard, and you guys can see how it's bouncing around. So that kind of gives you an idea of how the height is treating the dice. In other words, it's terrible because I hit the back wall. In other words, if I'm doing this right, since I have that bouncy table, this height will hopefully help minimize that dice at the end, the energy in it, so you're not going to have all those random rolling after it comes off the back wall. And it should get you pretty close to what the optimal landing zone is going to be. So let's do a couple more here. And that one was mediocre at best. And like I said yesterday, for some reason, when I'm going over the height tool with the barrel dice, I'm having a difficult time keeping those dice square. And the weird thing is, as soon as I use the regular dice, you saw how that landed right at the table, right at the wall. But for some reason, when I use the regular dice, I don't seem to have those problems. So, good morning, Arnell. So as you guys are following along in that, in the comments here, I want you to go through and write in anything that you feel that I'm covering that has helped you in your dice shooting journey so far. So is there a tip that you didn't think about, that you didn't know, that you think it has helped you? One of the things that I have been hearing a lot of is, and Arnell called me out on this a week or two ago, about the angle of the dice here. I have it set up on an angle, so when I come up, I release them and they're square in that top position when I release them. You don't have as much of an angle if you're using the 3-finger power grip or a 3-finger front grip. A lot of people will do that and they'll stay really square in the lines. Since I'm doing the Yuri grip, I come back on a slight angle. Now, some people are not going to be totally square when they do the power grip. Some might have a little bit of a angle on the dice, so that way when they do release it, it is square up at the top release point. So something to consider. But in the comments, guys, make sure, like I said, write down things that you have seen me do, ideas that you've gone from this training session so far, things that you think are going to help you going forward, or things that have helped you going forward. So after we get about 5 to 10, I'm sorry, not 5 to 10, you have about 20 to 50 throws of the barrel dice over the string. And I'm going to continue doing the throwing after I end the live stream. Before I go to bed, I'll do some more throws and that. But we're going to move on to the regular dice here. And let's get into our hardware set, a 5-4-5-4 dice set. And our goal here is to get the dice over the string as close as we can, keeping the dice as tight as possible and as level as possible. That one was mediocre at best again. The dice were just slightly high. They split apart a little bit. And then when they landed, my right one crossed over to the left side. This is the time, guys, now, and it's not quite as important at this level, but you can start training your eyes to watch the dice as they go down the table. And what I mean by that is you want to make sure that you're figuring out what the left dice is doing and what the right dice is doing. So one tip you guys could do is you can throw the dice down and keep an eye more on one of the dice and watch that dice to see what it does. If it lands straight down, and that'll give you an idea what the other dice is doing and where it lands. In other words, if the right dice comes down and lands there, but the left one comes off and rolls off to the left side, you know it's the left one that moved because you were watching that right one the whole time. Arnell is asking how high the string is from the deck. It depends on the length of your table. Mine's a 12-foot table, and my string is actually 56 inches from the ground. So 4 feet, 8 inches from the floor or from the ground. It does look higher. Again, a lot of that's the camera angle that we have set up here. Let me see, let me do one quick little thing here, guys, and see if this will show you. So if that helps a little bit. I don't know if that shows a different perspective at all for you guys. Let's go back again down. So hopefully that helps you or no. Again, the camera view shows it makes it look a little bit different. But that should be within range at the table. It should not have a problem with that. Let's do this once, guys. I'm gonna go back up again. And you guys can see my wood pile there. And let me see if I can stand next to it. And if you guys can see me, yeah, you can see me there. So when I'm standing, it comes straight out to mid chest level for me. So that's about the height for the 12-foot table. Obviously, if you go to a 14-foot table, it's going to be a little bit long or higher. It's going to be actually 6 inches higher, the string will be for a 14-foot table. Every foot that you go away from the back wall, you're going to add about 3 inches to your throwing height. Yeah, or no, it's below the stickman's eye level by far. Like I said, it's about mid-chest. So hopefully that helps a little bit here, guys. I do know I have heard of some stories where you have some shorter stick people. So that might, play a factor. But as we go through our training, guys, in the different belt levels, we're going to come up with different ways that we can actually minimize the energy in the dice. The height is one of them. How fast you throw the dice is another one of them. The amount of force that's delivered through the dice is another one of them. So there's several different things you could do, and we'll work on those as we go through the training. That one is a little bit off center. Again, at this point, we're not worried as much about the straight line when we're going over the height tool. Um, we're more worried about keeping the dice together here. So, good morning, Jeff. My drop shot doesn't go higher than the bowl height. Yeah, it's, if you can keep it, like I said, there's things that we could do here to keep the energy of the dice. Um, and I find that when I take the height tool away, my dice are not quite as high as what I'm throwing it with it right now. But what we're doing is we're trying to get that muscle memory down. We're trying to get it so we have a constant and it becomes something we do every single time, whether the height tool is there or not. The other thing I wanted you guys to focus on today is I wanted you to think about the amount of energy that are going through your hands, through your fingers, and through the dice as they go over the string. And visualize on how hard you're throwing those dice. So that way, if you don't have a dice tool or the height tool in front of you, can you do the same thing without it? Okay, that was a terrible one. Can you do the same amount of energy delivered through those dice without that tool in front of you? So in other words, like Jeff is saying, he keeps his a little bit lower to the table, and he can deliver a little bit less energy there also. Arnell is asking about the angle, um, the downward angle on the with the dice. And I don't have the exact answer for you. It's somewhere in my estimation between 35 to 45 degrees. Now, I found a reference online. That was a good toss. I found a reference online as far as the apex or the height of the optimal height of where it should be according to how far away you are standing from the back wall. And that's how I came up with the formula for the height of the table of the string. In that formula, they also had velocity or how fast you throw the dice as one of the factors. And that's really hard to measure. So I didn't include that in the training so far. And that's why I'm talking to you guys about, making that focus on how much energy you're actually putting into the dice as you're throwing it down a table. And watch the results of the dice. If you're throwing it too hard, you're throwing it too fast, it doesn't matter how high or how low you throw it, they're going to hit hard at the opposite end of the table here. With the height tool, we're trying to get just enough energy, enough speed, enough force into the dice to get them over the string so they land softly on the other side. And that's the point. That's what we're trying to visualize or make concept, put into our memory. So that way, when you do take that height tool away, and I'll do that right now, we'll take it away and we'll see if we can replicate that amount of energy. I was not able to watch last night, Jeff and Arnell. So who did win? Did Arnell get the $150 or did Jeff win? Inquiring minds want to know. So you guys see, I took that height tool away, and my height is not quite as high, but we're still delivering the same amount of energy through the dice. My dice are probably going about 6 to 8 inches under where that string would be. But again, the main focus is with the height tool is getting it down so you can commit to memory, commit to making a constant the amount of energy that's actually being put into the dice. And that one was just about the right height, but it was a terrible throw because it was not square and both dice flew off to the left side. So that means that they landed on the right side, right corner. So we got 5-4, 5-4 hard die set. And we're going to do a couple more tosses here, guys. And then I will finish the rest of my tosses. That one was really good. And that was right about the height of the string. And both of them came down with very good landing. But like I said, we're going to go through a couple more tosses here, and I'm going to go do the rest of my tosses off of camera so I can finish my 20 to 50 for the day. And that one was really good. And I'm going to be continuing to do my training off camera throughout the weekend. For those of you just joining us again, like I said, neither of you guys won, but are now played great. Yeah, we beat. I had to get 1,001 and didn't. Interesting. Okay. So I'm gonna have to go back and watch that video of Jeff and Arnell last night. For those of you who do not know, Jeff is running a promotion throughout the month of January here, where he's inviting people that are playing crapsy with him, and certain people actually go on and play against him, and they're actually playing against him to beat him. And if they can beat him, he gives them a certain sum of money. I believe he's every time he does it, I think it increases like $50 or whatever. And if they don't win, it keeps on going up. It was at $150 last night. I know that, and I cannot remember who it was. The last person that actually beat Jeff ended up donating the money back, and Jeff is taking all that money and he's saving it. Terrible throw. So I'm talking here, guys. But he's saving the money and he's going to be donating it to our next Craps for a Cure event that John from Pro Craps puts on. And it's probably going to be sometime, I think, in August is when it comes up. I know they're in the beginning stages of planning the next one here. So, anyhow, hey guys, let's go through our homework corner really quick. So for our homework corner, we're going to do the same as we did yesterday. You're going to go through, you're going to do your 10 dice scripts. And then after that, you're going to follow that up with 3 to 5 drop tests. Again, that's from your release point. So get into your dice set, go up, and without stopping, drop the dice by releasing your thumb. After that, we're going to do our dice setting. So you're going to practice doing the 1, 2, 2, 3 dice set, as well as the 5, 4, 2, 3 dice set. When you're finished with that, you're going to go through your barrel tosses without the height tool. So you have about 5 to 10 of those. And then we're going to follow that up with 5 to 10 tosses with just the regular dice. So taking the barrel dice away and going with just the regular dice. Once we're completed doing that, you're going to take out the height tool and you're going to do the barrel dice again. And we're going to go for 20 to 50 throws. And you want to make sure that you're throwing it and getting in a groove so that it's comfortable and you're seeing the results that you want to see. We're going to focus on the success there. And if you're not getting it down, guys, try to pick it apart and set it up so that way you do start seeing successful results. Once you're done with the barrel dice, we're going to do the regular dice again. And again, you have 20 to 50 of those throws. So anyhow, guys, have a great weekend. I hope everybody is safe. I hope everybody has fun. And I hope everybody continues to do their morning dice training. Hey, my name is Joan. This is my Crapsmaster Dice Shooting Journey. Let's make it yours as well.